Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsor, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. And I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. And there is a code calculator to let you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support. Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, and a bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. And they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they're running a promotion where listeners of my show, because you have my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Again, tell my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on that very order. And I have with me the comic creators and creative team of Max DeVill and Johnny Reed from Somewhat Atrocity Press. And you guys have the Kickstarter book, Human Hunters, out, which is over 200% funded at this point. So what's up, guys?
Not much.
How's it going?
Just enjoying
I am very well, and I'm very, very excited. A little bit nervous, but I actually really like this book because it definitely fits my vibe of what I like to read as a comic book fan. And your book is Human Hunters. And so before we dive really into the story and what's going on with it, I am curious, what is the basic premise of the comic?
Do you want to take it, or do you want me to go with it? Because I got
you got it.
the famous monsters
of literature,
from literature, plus the A-Team, plus Mission Impossible equals Human Hunters.
and you can dabble a little Fast and Furious over that.
Yeah.
Hey! It's all about family, right?
Yes, it's all about family.
Hey, we do keep it. We keep it close to family at Atrocity Press. I mean, hell, last Mary Machine Gun thing we did, we had a Benez family pack, so you could get the covers from all three of the Benezes.
And I'm sure we're gonna get to that in the rewards because I have all the photos and all that stuff. And
nice.
Benezes. How does that work?
It's a Benai Benez cover act.
Yes. Well, for us, we only got one on Human Hunter, so we're good.
Yep.
So we don't have to worry about the plural of the.
No,
Benez.
not for this one.
So obviously you two have known each other for a while at this point, and I obviously have known Max a little bit longer than I known you, Johnny. And when I mean by known, it's been on a few streams,
Right?
And so I am curious how the two of you met, because this is definitely, you're both the co-writers on this project, and I think it's important that people sort of get a sense of how you two met, and then even going further into the story from there.
Yeah, because I think we're kind of the co-writers on all the stories now, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much all.
I mean, actually, we're the new Russo brothers, basically. Years ago, I was actually co-host of a radio show, and Max was actually one of our guests. And I got to interview.
I was operating a thing called the Grindhouse Channel, which was a Roku channel full of B movies and old sleaze stuff, and it did really, really well until Roku decided that they didn't want me on their platform anymore.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's all temporary work. It's all temporary work. There will be a point where this will end for all of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I interviewed Max, and we had a mutual acquaintance, and we got together and we were kind of talking about stuff, and I don't know how we kind of looped back into each other. I can't remember if I called you or you called me, and we just got to talking, and the next thing I know,
Wayne called me.
Oh, Wayne called. That's right.
Wayne called me, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to IHOP and meet with these guys about this film production thing?"
That's right.
Hell yeah, I do.
Because originally we were working on doing films together. Because my background is, besides doing podcasts, because I was a co-host of Night Watch Radio for 5-6 years, but I also have done a lot of the local B horror. I guess they say B horror movies. So we were talking about doing that. Well, then COVID hit, so we kind of had to put that on the back burner. And Max, one day, we just kept talking, visiting, and I think, what was it? You wanted me to help edit one, I believe?
Yeah, well, I just wanted you to read through Mary Machine Gun 2.
2, yeah, issue 2.
I was like, here, make sure this doesn't look stupid.
And I liked it. I gave him some notes and, and said, hey, what about this and this? And I think it just led to, hey, what came first, Human Hunters or Mary Machine Gun 3? I'm trying to remember now.
I don't remember either. I think it was Human Hunters.
Yeah, I think it's about Human Hunters. Well, originally I pitched an idea for Native, which may come out someday. It's going to be about a Native American terrorist. And we kind of were talking about other things, and I had like some other ideas in my pocket, and we were talking about Human Hunters, and I did a whole bunch of research, and Max liked the ideas, like, hey, I want to do this. And I was surprised. I'm like, you really want to do this? And he's like, yeah. I go, no, seriously, I'm just pitching an idea. And he's like, no, this is great. Let's do it. So
what is that like? Because I think this is super interesting because, I typically speak to a lot of people who are writing solely alone. And there's a few people like Casey Balker and Ruben Romero who are writing partners on a lot of things. And it's very interesting because you throw out ideas and then somebody gives you an idea and then your writing partner says, oh, that's a great idea, but if we tweak it here and then it works a certain way, and having somebody just to bounce an idea off of is very helpful, I do a lot of anime panels, and sometimes I'll just throw an idea out to my friend and say, hey, I got this idea, but what do you think about it? And then usually they might say, hey, that's a cool idea, but have you thought about doing it slightly different? And they make one suggestion, and then that thing turns into what I view as a really good panel versus just being an average panel. And so what is that like, having somebody to, as I was saying, bounce ideas off of and also say, that's a really stupid idea too sometimes. Taking it behind the barn and shooting it, Well,
it's weird the way we work because we'll spitball ideas back and forth with each other. And then once we actually start writing the page, it's like I'll be writing something and Johnny's like, that's exactly what I had in my head. And then he'll say, we should do this next. And I'm like, I was already typing that.
It's almost like that, Pacific Rim moment, where they sit there and say, hey, we got to link up. It's like when we're writing, sometimes it feels that way. It's really creepy. And I've written with people before on movie scripts and stuff, but it's really odd. The way we write these, kind of like another title that we're working on is this Teenage Ninja Babes. And Max brings this idea to me and he's like, what do you think of this? I go, I think it's totally insane. And he's like, but what do you think? I go, oh yeah, I'm in, I'm like, and it's one of those that originally we started out the concept of being very campy, very B movie, very cheesy. And then when we sat down to write, because we were going to make it a joke, the whole point was to be a satire. And Max had this brilliant idea for it. And then once we started writing it, it got serious real quick.
Yeah, it got dark fast.
And it's like, and now we're like working, like today we were working on what, issue 2?
And 3
today. And because we're like way ahead on our scripts, but we're writing it today and it's so serious. We still have the fun jokes in there, but it's like what he pitched and what it turned into changed really quick. And that kind of, especially today, we had a lot of moments where Max is like, you should, and he's already typing it. Because the way we write is we do this in StreamYard. This is what we do, and we'll have a Word document. And Max is, spells better than I do because I'm an atrocious speller. So he'll type it out, and we talk back and forth, and it's like, you should do this. And as I'm saying it, he's typing it. It's really great. I mean, I got to say.
Because I just find this so interesting because I like to write alone. I like to do a lot of stuff on my website, and I haven't written a comic yet. I haven't even attempted to try. I've written a very rough outline on a project I want to do, but I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm very much a lone writer type of person. And so for me, this is a completely foreign concept of writing with a partner, and I don't even know if I could do it. It's very odd where I don't work well with people in that sense. And so Me,
The only other time I had to do that work with someone else was in college. That was the only other time I had to write a paper with other people or do any writing with anyone else. I've always been pretty lone wolf writer myself, but then I was like, well, we'll try to write this Human Hunters thing together, because Johnny's like, I've never written a comic book before. I've written movie scripts. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty much the same. Here, let me show you. And then as we started writing, it just kind of all clicked together. I mean,
yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, neither one of us planned on us becoming like this writing team where I thought I was going to do Human Hunters and he was going to do Mary, and now we're writing 4 books together.
Yep.
I think we're like, on each book we're usually 2 to 3 issues ahead on the script from our art department.
Yeah, well, you got to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So to even dive into Human Hunters, because obviously, as I stated, this is my type of book. It's my type of vibe. From what I've seen of the art, it's definitely Zenescope-esque, and it plays in that realm where it's got the idea of, I really like the art style. I like the concept of it. I like the fact that we're dealing with all these monsters that are recognizable, but they're also very different. Where that's the fact that I'm very drawn to with Zenescope, is that I'm familiar with certain aspects of the property, but I'm also not familiar with some of the personalities. And so what I really like is that these monsters have all been sort of, I guess, revived in different fashions and have been living in, society in the human world for a while. And now they don't want to be hunted anymore. They want to do the hunting and they want to gain power. And so that's a very interesting concept. And so,
well, it's not really just power. Not to interrupt, but a lot of it is atonement. In a lot of cases, they're trying to make up for their past sins, and it's and kind of the heart of the story is that you have these monsters that humans have been hunting for years and centuries, and you're finding out that they're more human than the humans, that they have the souls. And the whole concept of Human Hunters is they're going after the worst of the worst in humans. They're going after drug lords, sex traffickers. We have a lot of different story arcs already planned out. I mean, I think we probably, I don't know about Max, how many he's got, but I've got at least 8 or 9 already just at the top of my head.
The first book, let's just keep it with that one. That's just kind of dipping your toe into the water. I mean, it's very tame with a lot of the stuff that's, it's an introductory book.
Yes.
It's still a heist.
A very good analogy. I don't know if either Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and how that first episode in that anime played out. Where the basic premise is that the first episode doesn't deal with anything story. It just introduces all of the major characters and sort of shows what they can do. And you get a real sense of who they are, what type of personalities they are. You get an idea of who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and a bunch of skill sets that these characters have. And that's what I feel like this first issue does. In the first 7 pages or so, I get a real sense of not exactly everything, but that these monsters, have the ability to do some really cool shit, for lack of a better word. And that they are skilled, and that they have wisdom, and that they do have a sense of pain, and they're stealing something that's very valuable, but they're hurting somebody who is rich. They're not hurting somebody who is poor. And they're sort of targeting, I guess, the 1% versus the 99%. And then we're also seeing, whoever has this vase that they're stealing, clearly wants it protected and is willing to sacrifice himself. So,
yeah.
Very
well, and I think we've said before who they're stealing from, haven't we?
Yeah, it's just someone who stole it during World War II.
Yeah, I mean, they're returning it back to the original family, the Jewish family that had it stolen from the Nazis. So it's not even about somebody of power having it and taking it from them like the Robin Hood. It's the point of taking it from somebody that didn't deserve it and giving it back to the original family it belonged to.
And it's so interesting because it's almost righting a wrong, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And then also, we know certain things about these characters, and we don't know other things about these characters. And I don't think we see, and I'm going to get the name wrong, but Radu, I want to say.
Yeah, Radu.
And I don't think we see Radu in this issue yet, in the first 7 pages, at least in the preview.
He's not in the preview, but he is in the book.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you, and the way we kind of did this is we kind of, in the first issue, you get to find out the kind of a base pattern of about half the characters. And the other half you're going to find out in later issues. Because we want to keep some mystery alive.
Yeah, and it's also super interesting because just to dive into these characters, the 3 characters that are in the preview, we get a really interesting sense of where obviously Cleo is awakened, and she was a sleeping princess who was awakened, by somebody. And now she's thrown into this brave new world, and she becomes very much involved in technology. And her entire thing is that, I don't know the exact realm of a monster and her lineage as a monster is precisely, but it's this idea that she's adapting to utilizing technology and coming into what I view as a 21st century type of world. And what is that like? Because that's a very interesting character development where you now have somebody who is from not, a world that had an iPhone per se, but is utilizing it and is willing to punish people who oppose her and who are wrong with that technology and has mastered it. And it's a very interesting, character and how she's going to be developing going forward. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, she speaks 36 different languages. And part of it is knowing how long has she been doing with technology. Has she just now jumped into it, or was she there when it started?
Yeah, no. It's so interesting, and I don't want to give too much away because obviously it's very skilled. And then what my favorite character is Kristen Sinclair, and this is the image that's going to sell the book. And so obviously she comes out of the water, and she is very, very good at what she does. And it's just that this scene is insane. I think she comes out of the water of Northern Ireland. And so what is the story behind her? Because this is the image that I want into a metal card in particular.
Well, do you want to start with the beginning of that? Do you have the first page? Because if we walk through those pages, we could probably go through it.
I should probably pull up the Kickstarter because that could be very helpful in this circumstance.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the Kickstarter.
I figure since we got the 7 pages, we'll kind of break it down for you.
Because I think that's something that's going to be extremely helpful to everybody, so everybody understands what's going on. And I'm just legitimately just pulling it up. Just
okay.
1 second, everybody. I am not good at this part of freaking StreamYard, and you're going to see my nice still red unwarranted denial from Kickstarter land. So it's the only downside everybody's going to have to see. I'm still upset about it. So I don't know if everybody can see it or if I didn't share it yet.
Oh, that's it. We can see it.
Perfect. Every time we went to stop because I cannot see at the exact same time. So yeah, here we go. I don't know how much we can see here and what's exactly.
You can see everything but the bottom panel. Basically, the idea of this character is if you go by classical literature of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, there is a scene where Dr. Frankenstein is approached by the monster to create a bride. He decides he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to create another creature, and he's afraid they might, create an army. So in the book, he actually goes out to the sea on the Scottish Isles, and he throws all his equipment and the body overboard. And that's where this is. It's in the book. She says it's a storm, and he casts everything over. So we don't want to change what she wrote. I mean, who am I to change the great Mary Shelley? So I don't want to do that. So what we want to do is what happened after that moment she didn't write about. And that, we want to, we really want to honor what she wrote by not changing it. So if you go to the next page,
expand on it a little bit.
Yeah, and expand on it. You see Dr. Frankenstein, and he throws the body in the water. And I got to tell you, the art on this is just, to me personally, is breathtaking. I love the bubbles. I love the lightning, the coloring. Our inker does an amazing job. I mean, these guys just fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, they do.
And then you go down a little bit further, you see that lightning crack. You know, that goes back to our letterer. And, oh, Lord.
SK.
I have a funny SK story, but I don't want to tell anybody my SK story because I don't know if SK will kill me if I tell the story.
We'll do it offline. But
it's not a bad story. It's just
gotcha.
Slightly embarrassing for him.
Okay. Well, on this panel, you actually get to see the body and the detail with the rags and the bandages. And we have this scene here with the kaboom and the hand moving. This is one of those, like when you were talking about the collaboration, you know, I was all paranoid because I was like, do we need to make the body move? Do we need to do this? And Max is like, no. He goes, this hand will do it. Just leave it alone. I was like, are we showing enough? And then when we got it back, I was like, okay, Max, you're right. This is freaking stellar. This is exactly what we needed.
Isn't that important? Because, you know, if you're just writing it yourself, you know, you have to make a decision. And it's not that you're making a bad decision per se, but sometimes somebody else says, look, I know this is going to hit. And you don't need to, you know, go and figure out how to reconfigure a page. We can make something work, and somebody says, oh, this is cool. And then you realize that somebody actually had a vision, because that's what looking at somebody else and bring somebody else, whether that's an editor or even another writer in, it can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly how I had it envisioned in my head too. So those guys really knocked it out. I mean, the bubbles, they added that, and that, I think the bubbles sell it better.
Yep.
So.
And see, and what's funny is I was thinking that kind of like him, but see, I kind of envisioned like another panel in between here where you see the body moving and all, and Max like, no, that's too much. Cut that out.
And also what's really nice about this, and just to utilize this page and really show it, at least from my end, you know, is that I'm also really seeing a lot of blue, but you're also not overpowered with blue, if that makes any sense. And it's kind of, I don't know how to explain that, but it all really blends nicely. But there's also contrast, especially with the bubbles, where you can see it extremely well, and it doesn't detract from the scene. And I don't know how to explain why it works, but it works very well from a color theory. And it's very cool because this could go wrong very easily.
Oh yeah, it could, if the wrong colorist had a hold of it, it could be bad. I was telling Johnny that, I was like, we were right. Then I was like, this is going to be really important on the colorist. But at the time, we thought Fernando was going to be coloring it, but and so I trust him completely with anything that he does. That guy is just amazing on all levels.
Everything. Fernando, and that's when you go back to, you know, talking about a family. I mean, these are guys that we're texting back and forth with now. I mean, Max is great friends with Fernando. I've recently become good friends with him. But it's it's to a point where it really is that family, you know, feel where we're texting back and forth and we're talking about the panels, and all the guys are like, I mean, even the artists are like, what if we do this or what if we do that? Because everybody really wants the best product.
And then even going further into this, because this is the scene that
oh, there you go.
I want to talk about. And obviously this, you know, we have the beach, then we see her sort of coming out, and then this is the panel that I think is what really pops off. And, you know, obviously we were speaking about this on Larry's show, and this is the scene where, you know, I think Kristine's coming out, or Krista's coming out, or I'm getting the name wrong.
Kirstine.
It's Kirstine with an R. It's Scottish.
Perfect. I don't have it in front of me. It's been a long day. So
Gotcha.
This is the scene, though, that is when she's coming out of the water, and it's just a crazy scene because you see the light underneath her, and you have the rain in it, and it's almost like reflecting off of her to some degree, and it's a wild art scene, and there's no words on or anything like that, and it's super, super interesting, this scene.
That's everybody is commented on the blues, and the this page right here in particular is everybody's favorite of the first 7 that we've given away.
It's the patchwork too. That was Fernando with that skin color.
Yeah, coming in.
He was like, let's do the different skin colors, and it worked so well.
Yeah, no, because it's so stark and it's just so like amazing, and like I've never seen anything like it. It looks like a cover and it doesn't look like a panel. I don't know if that makes any sense. And I'm very much a cover guy and very much like a bad girl art guy, and this looks like it belongs on a cover versus in a comic.
Well, that's the Mateus would love to hear that. I'll have him make sure he hears that.
And then this is obviously for those who want to check it out and is going further into the book where
the transition
mainstream, I guess, again
the transition from then to now. And if you it's an Easter egg, but the art in the back, that art is actually art that was stolen at some point in time and it's still missing
in history.
And then obviously this is sort of them stealing it and all this stuff.
And then we get our third character.
The werewolf.
Yes, a very sexy beast of a character.
Yeah.
He's our Native American.
JC Black, right?
Yep.
Black?
JC Black.
So I wanted to make sure I didn't get it wrong because he said Black. His buddy's name was Black. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the right name, but I don't want to be wrong.
No, JC Black.
And then obviously this is where, spoiler alert, JC Black might be something else. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the transformation there is very good, very reminiscent of American Werewolf in London, the Howling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mateus did a great job. He likes drawing monsters, so I was like, this would be a perfect book for him.
And so it's very interesting, and we have obviously 4 characters who are super fascinating in this entire project, and they all bring different skill sets. And what is that like? Because I think that's something very important with Radu, obviously with Christina, or I think I got it right that time. Christine. Obviously Cleo, and then JC. They all bring different skill sets to this team that is engaging in sort of atoning for themselves, protecting their kind, because JC is getting sick and tired of over a long period of time that his kind has been hunted, and he wants to do some hunting and protect his kind. And they all have a whole different skill set that they bring to this team. And they all are somewhat indebted to somebody who sort of saved them and maybe pulling some strings and sort of might have showed them the way, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. If you want to go down to the page, I think there's a page that has the cover A. Because it should be that image a little bit bigger.
Yes.
Keep scrolling down.
I'll just throw it up like this.
There you go.
Yeah,
much
there
easier,
you go.
Much easier for everybody to see it, much easier for me to deal with it. And obviously this is all 5 characters are on this cover.
Yep. Well, it's 7. It's 7 total that are in this issue. And at the top there is Radu. He's our leader, our billionaire. He's our kind of, A-team reference, our Hannibal Smith, our Bruce Wayne, all wrapped up in one. He's also kind of our suave, kind of 007 type character.
And he's very much the brains behind the operation.
He is our leader.
Yep, he put it all together.
Next to him is Cleo. She's our tech brains. The one thing next to her, you could probably put it 2 and 2 together when you see the book. He has scars all over him, and he's 9 foot tall. So, I mean, he's basically our Frankenstein's monster.
His name is Victor Stein.
Victor Stein.
No relation.
Well, a lot of it is you'll find out his backstory of why he chose that name Victor.
I was just throwing a joke in there.
Oh, yeah.
Frankenstein, it's I'm just saying, it's Frankenstein, not Frankenstein.
A little bit of Mel Brooks there, right?
Very much.
Below him, of course, is our adrenaline junkie, our thief, Christine. As
One
we've
that came out
shown,
of the water. Yep.
one that came out of the water. Next to her is JC, our werewolf. Above him is that is Dr. Juan Montclair. As you can tell from the painted face, he is our voodoo doctor. Next to him,
it's a very interesting cover because when I first looked at this cover, I'm going to be very honest, I didn't even see the voodoo doctor in there where it almost blends in. And if you didn't point it out, I wouldn't have seen it for a while, which is kind of crazy.
yeah, but it's kind of cool.
Fun to hide stuff like that kind of in plain sight using color.
Yeah, and the next to him is Freya, and that is all we're going to say about her.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. She's going to be our Madam of Mystery right now.
Because what's so interesting about this book, and I go back to the entire concept with Zenescope, is that right now, for those who don't know, Zenescope is building out a very balanced universe where their universes colliding into each other. And you are now starting to have Van Helsing come into Robin Hood and Robin Hood and Van Helsing. And
Right.
a bunch of other characters are starting to come in, and they've brought in a bunch of people. And it's very cool because now you're starting to build out a very balanced universe. And what you are talking about and what I read, this is very balanced. And it's very nice in comics to see an actual balanced set of characters where characters have strong attributes, but not one character is perfect. And that they technically need to rely on certain skills of another character to get what they want to get done or even possibly survive as they're going to be dealing with other threats. And that's something that, in my opinion, is lacking in comics in a lot of ways because we have a lot of perfect characters. And not to go beat up Superman, but Superman's like the perfect hero in a lot of ways.
Most perfect of perfect characters.
And so it's nice to see something that isn't that, where it's this group of 7 or 8 characters who collectively make up a perfect unit to some degree versus having one person be the be-all, end-all.
Having to use teamwork because, you know, you've got your own weaknesses and flaws. I mean, like Cleo, during the day, she's powerful, but at night, she's not. So, I mean, not saying that she's like smart during the day and then at night she's not, but I'm saying
Just
like,
physically, she's physically stronger during the day than and at night she's weaker. And also they have flaws. Cleo, you find out very soon, is claustrophobic. She doesn't like close places.
But isn't that important though? Because at this stage, at least in society, and I, you know, my job is I make documents accessible, you know, for people who have, you know, disabilities and to make it so that they can participate and have an easier time because people have trouble. You know, if you're using a screen reader, for instance, you know, you need a document made accessible. And that's a real thing now. And that's what I think is very interesting is that if Cleo's claustrophobic, you know, that's a real concern that people have. And it's nice to see that because this makes the book more human. And it actually makes it more relatable because I know people who are claustrophobic and understand that. And so now when I'm reading this, you know, I can understand that, or I can understand somebody who's, you know, might have, you know, ties to something where, you know, their family members were being hunted down from generations ago in, you know, some weird civilization 500 years ago, and that's in their family lineage, and that means you can relate to J.C. Black in a lot of ways, and that makes it a very real book, and that's a real thing now that I think is happening in comics, where books are becoming more relatable, and it's very important, I think, that you guys hit on that, whether intentionally or not.
your characters have to be relatable to the reader. I mean, if they're not relatable, then the reader doesn't. They don't relate.
Right.
Then they pass it on by. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is also like we want to show different relationships. Like let's just take Kirstine and Victor. In almost every rendition of Frankenstein, and I guess you could say the Bride of, it's always the Bride of Frankenstein. I really wanted to do a different concept with these characters. Kirstine and Frankenstein, if you read the book, they had the same father. They had the same creator. So they're not romantically involved at all. They're brother and sister. So you have the adrenaline junkie, which is Christine, always jumping out of buildings, always risking her life. And you have the steadfast brother always trying to protect her, and that's a part of life. You have that in dynamics, and it gives you a different perspective that you can relate to, but also a fresh perspective that people haven't read about yet.
And characters don't always get along with each other. That's another great thing too, is you got built-in conflict.
Yeah.
And I was even going to ask and go into this because obviously I was quoting Young Frankenstein before.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a very, very different spin on the entire Frankenstein story. And
brilliant.
It's one of the best things. And I don't know if that movie could be made today. It's brilliant though. Nonetheless. Yeah. But even going into that, because this is one of the reasons why I like Zenescope to some degree, and I think they're a good example, is that they took a fairy tale and they reimagined it. And this, in a lot of ways, with monsters, is reimagining monsters and what they can do. And at this stage, and I don't know how you two feel, but I am getting bored with concepts just being recycled, and then spoon-fed to me from, the big two and even some of the big 3 or 4 at this point. And I'm looking for a new original idea. And it doesn't have to be 100% original, but I think it has to be at least 50% original at this stage.
Right.
Because I'm getting bored with comics at this point. And it's a real concern for me because I've read all the stories at this point, and I don't need Spider-Man to keep saving Mary Jane again.
Well, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why there's such a resurgence and a renaissance right now of independent comic books. I mean, there's a renaissance on it because people are sick and tired. A lot of people are like you. They're sick and tired of it, and they just want to read cool stories. So they go to indies, and it's taken off quite a bit. I mean, but at the same time, it's still a boutique industry to where you've got very specific products that a few people are backing on Kickstarter or buying offline. And if you don't, you know what I'm saying.
It's very much like wrestling, where wrestling is a very small niche market where they have all the fans in wrestling, but outside of wrestling, wrestling collectively right now is maybe a $8 billion industry at best.
I don't know what they do monetarily. But I don't know what they do monetarily, but I'm pretty sure it's better than comic books. when one manga can outsell the entire comic industry.
That is true, and it has probably. So it's called One Piece.
It happened.
Or My Hero Academia.
I think it was My Hero.
I think the big thing also, not to bash the big comics, but I think there's a problem where the big guys that are writing comics are so worried about selling the books. They keep rebooting the titles because they want that number one. They got to get that number one. We got to reboot this universe so we can get this big story arc. But they're not just doing good, long, plain stories. Like Blackest Night. DC was always falling behind Marvel for years. They come up with this Blackest Night concept, and it's basically these dead superheroes and villains. And it was brilliant. It was new, it was fresh, and it sold like hotcakes. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to reboot everything again.
And I think a lot with Flashpoint, and then they rebooted everything. They used Flashpoint to reboot the New 52. And I loved Blackest Night. I thought Blackest Night was one of the best.
I thought it was wonderful.
And I think they should have just kept going with it. And I think that it would have been phenomenal. It would have been amazing. And it's one of my favorite things out there. I was in a rough point in my life reading Blackest Night. And without a doubt, one of my favorite things that ever came out. And even Brightest Day I thought was pretty good too.
Brightest Day was good. Yeah, it was.
And then even the prequel into Blackest Night was good as well, where it was I think there was like 2 sort of entry points into Blackest Night, because I didn't read Blackest Night in comic book format. I read it in graphic novel format. And
gotcha.
In order to do that, what was annoying but important is that you have to sort of shift around in the 8 or 9 hardcover graphic novels that came around.
Yep.
It wasn't so direct the way they did the graphic novels, which I think was a mistake done by DC. I think they should have just did 9 volumes of it straight up.
Straight through. Yep, they should have.
Well, I think the worst part about it is they were on such a momentum and they killed it with Flashpoint. And for me, Flashpoint never made sense. I mean, it just didn't. I mean, how is you have Iris Allen now alive? How does him changing one woman being alive create it to where there's now a new Earth 2 multiverse and World War II heroes are disappearing? That was happened before that point in time. I mean, it was very crazy to me. It was like they were forcing the issue instead of writing it.
It was a weird book.
Yeah.
All I know is that I made money on Flashpoint. That's all I care about.
Well, but going back to, that's kind of one of the reasons, like for Max and like for me, why we're writing these books. We want to tell really good stories. We want to hit, Max, when he came up with the concept with Mary Machine Gun, and the Templars, and, it's not just writing a book because he's creating lore. When I was started writing, researching all these characters for Human Hunters, we created character sheets and flaws and backgrounds and all this history because we don't want to just create a character. We want to create a world that they live in.
Because that's what I think is also lacking in comics at this point is
world
that
building. Good world building.
Good world building, good character building, also understanding that maybe you actually need to create a good property before you go out and sell your book, if that makes any sense. I mean, it sounds like a logical statement, but it's this idea of saying, hey, look, I actually need something of substance. And that's where I think, places like DC and Marvel are failing. That's just my opinion. Now, I think there's money to be made with certain variants and a variety of other things in those areas. But I think as far as stories, you can't just rely on, Green Lantern or Batman or Superman or Spider-Man, Captain America, and Iron Man anymore. And that's something that is why I'm obviously buying less and less of the big two. And I'm now migrating to places like Dark Horse and Dynamite. And I'm even migrating further into, obviously I have a Zenescope position for a different reason because I like cover art. But I'm migrating into places like Titan Comics. And then I'm migrating to Kickstarter. And, for me, it's that I want good stories.
Here's a recommendation for you. Great art, great stories. Find old GG Studios. They only were around for 3 years, but they were incredible.
I'm going to have to look that up because I need something.
GG Studios. And, well, I got a question. Do we want to go back to that Kickstarter? Did you want to go ahead and show some of these variants?
I have them all here. I have them all here in nice and easy form for me because using shared screen messes me up tremendously. I am the first person to admit that. So there's this one. Max,
I'll let you go through all these.
All right, this is the cover of Mariah Benez's cover. It's got all 3 of our leading ladies in it. It's got Cleo on the far right. And Freya's in the middle, and Christine is on the left. And someone's all like, yeah, they have to be half naked to go fight, huh? And I'm like, this isn't even their combat outfits. This is just like pin-up clubwear stuff.
So what is the story behind how this cover came about? Because obviously the Benz, this is only one Benz. I just want to make that clear. We don't have Ben's eyes.
No,
right.
It's just one Benz cover. We've got a really good relationship with Mariah. We've used her ever since Mary Machine Gun issue number 1. We had her come back with Ed Benez and Fred Benez on Mary Machine Gun issue number 2, and then we brought her back for Human Hunters because I just love the way she draws women. She is a woman, so she knows the anatomy much better than a guy could ever understand. Plus, she's also trained in the comic book style of drawing and art, so it makes things a lot easier for her to create super sexy looking women, and she's good at it. and sales reflect that.
And then even to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench, because this is also not in the same style, but definitely in the bad girl art category.
Yeah,
And
that is,
I like this cover a lot because I like the background on it.
yeah,
And
that's
so, what's
that's
that?
Alzir Alves, the Roshan Studio, Roshan Studio, Roshan. I can't ever get it right. It's basically the Kubert School in Brazil. He is the director of it, and our one of our artists, Fernando, he knows Alzir very, very well because he's taken some classes from him and everything. And we use Alzir on another. He's another person that we've used on a few covers. He did a cover on our Neo Tokyo book. He's done. I think he did a couple pinups for us, and then he did this cover here. Because usually he's more the action type of guy, but I was like, let's see if you can do kind of sexy. It doesn't have to be overtly bad. Just see if it's kind of sexy, and that's Cleo. And these covers, if you kind of put two and two together, you'll be able to figure out which famous monster Cleo is.
I don't know because they all are monsters in their own right.
She's from Egypt.
Don't answer it. Don't answer it. Let everybody figure it out on their own. And then this book sold out too, which was cool because it was the Halloween version. That is sold out. Just letting everybody know that it was up for, I think, technically like 36 hours.
Yeah, it was up for 30 hours, I think, because of the way Kickstarter does its timing.
But you can't get that book anymore. So if you want that book, go on eBay, is what I'm going to say.
That's where it's going to be.
and then there's this book out there as well. And this is just another cool one.
This one just launched. It's by Fern Cord. Fernando, our main artist on Mary Machine Gun. He wanted to do a cover. So this cover is designed to be a holofoil with the way the colors are set. You can see the clock in the background. It's all already got that holofoil look to it.
So to even talk about that, because obviously I'm a cover guy and I like my metal covers. I like hollow foil covers and I like regular covers. I like spot hollow foils. And so what is that like to offer that? Because that's also a whole nother thing of doing and, making it special, because when something comes into a comic shop or you get distribution, if you choose to go down that route, most times you're not going to have a hollow foil. And it becomes very much a Kickstarter exclusive. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter as well, where it's the idea that I want something exclusive and I want my books to be protected in an exclusivity position on Kickstarter, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, we did the Ed Benez book. It's got a metal cover. Where does it go? Here it is. On Mary Machine Gun 2. It's a metal cover. This one's my copy. So
I'm surprised it's not graded.
It will be eventually, probably. I don't know. I'm not really into the grading as much as Larry and all the other guys are.
I'm a grading glutton.
See, a lot of people are into grading. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait 7-8 months for CGC to get back.
CGC is caught up. That's a good thing. It's a good thing if you own a comic shop and you're participating now, because it's a good time to jump in, or you could just buy their stock instead.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were caught up. That's awesome, because they were way behind.
For about 7 months. And then I can only show parts of this cover, and I was not going to go remove certain things of this cover. I promise you, if you get this cover, there will be certain things that are very, very not on there, like the little symbols.
Yeah, the little devil heads. That's our naughty cover, which is we do one every time. It is the nudie cover that everybody likes to have. My favorite thing of the cover, it's funny, is the innuendo with the pop champagne cork and the champagne pouring out. I just thought that was pretty hilarious.
And for those who are interested, this is a very limited cover in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, it's not one of the cheaper ones, but if you do buy it, then right now, so far since we've reached $3,000 on the campaign, we've got 3 prints that are being released, 6x9 card prints that come with the nude cover, and these are also nude prints.
And even to go further into this, because it is super interesting, at least, and I'm curious because obviously, Johnny, you run a comic shop, and Max, you've been doing Kickstarters for a while now. It's obviously those higher tier rewards definitely help to get you funded. But what is that like when you're booking variants? Because A, people want them, but there's also a whole issue of oversaturation of variants and then sort of selling through, because when you take on a variant and you're printing, that does occur extra costs.
Yeah,
and
there's
that nature and figuring out the balance, because obviously coming from a comic shop on Johnny's end, I mean, that might give you a little bit more insight. And I understand that indie comics and Kickstarter is their own beast, but I do think that insight is very important to some degree. And so I'm curious how you both, approach that and say, hey, I know this is going to do well. We're only doing 4 or 5 for a reason, because I don't know about you guys, but I've seen Kickstarters that have had 30 different comic variants, and I'm like, fucking A, that's a lot.
That's a lot of variants. Yeah. See, we haven't done that many. I understand that people like variants, so we want to offer a few variants to people, and we get just the few artists that we can afford. I mean, a lot of people do just a book, or maybe they do a couple books, so they can afford more artists, or they can afford higher paid artists and stuff like that. So that's what's used to sell covers, is either your artist name or how good the cover is just artistically, and if it connects with a reader somehow. I mean, everyone says don't judge a book by its cover, but that's what you do with a comic book.
And even bringing in Johnny, because I'm curious, because obviously you run a comic shop, and I would imagine that you do both new things that come out every week as well as huge backlog stuff. And I've spoken to a bunch of comic artists and people like David Nakayama, and people come to a comic shop and they have no idea what to buy, and that cover might help to sell a book. So how is that for you when you're also involved in this? Because definitely, certain Kickstarters are back just because I like the cover and I haven't even opened up the book. And I don't know if the book's good or bad on certain people's Kickstarters. At this point, I'm like, I don't really care because I want your cover. I don't want the book.
Yeah, for me, it kind of goes both ways, because the one thing I'm good about is I always have a lot of the books opened, because that's like my pet peeve. I've always drove me nuts. Is like I'll go through Diamond catalog and I'll be like, that book looks so great, and then you get it, and it's like totally different art on the inside, and it's such a letdown. That's one thing I got to give Max props for. I love the fact that with Atrocity Press, whoever does the art of the book gets cover A. So when you look at that cover A, that's what you are getting. Now, I get the whole variance. That's awesome. But it drives me nuts that they have the main cover be a different artist. So often, when there's a really good artwork, I'll have to pull it out, take it out of the sleeve, and I'll show it to the customers. Hey, this is a really good artwork. You really need to look at this, or this is a great, cover. By the same token, you have those customers that, like you spoke of Zenscope. They want those Al Rio covers. They can't, he's passed now. So the only thing you're going to be able to get is the ones he's already done. They want those Al Rios, or they want that Michael Turner covers. So it's kind of split,
Cause, and the reason why I bring this up is because obviously I am in both camps on Kickstarter, because sometimes, if I know that a particular artist that I thoroughly enjoy, like I'm a huge Jason Metcalf, If he's doing a Kickstarter and he has a cover on a Kickstarter, I don't really care what the Kickstarter is. If the book's within my price range of 25 to 30 bucks, I'm going to be buying that. And whoever has that Kickstarter, you've won me over. You know, Steph Wilson is very similar when the book is priced at 20 or 25 bucks. If you price the book at 35, you lose me as a customer 80% of the time, just because I don't think that Steph Wilson is a $35 cover price. I think he's a $25 position at best.
And at Atrocity Press, we try to keep our products as inexpensive as possible. That's why every cover we sell is usually $15. Sometimes they're 20. Like Ed Benez's cover was $20 because Ed Benez cost extra money.
I was going to ask that, because that's the thing about comics is that, and I'm sure Johnny, you know, when you put a new book out on the shelf, it's $4 with Marvel, or maybe $5. And, you know, I don't mind spending a little bit more for indie books, but at a certain price point, those prices get out of whack. You know, I've seen people with books for a regular cover A for $20, and I'm like, you're going to bank rob me. Like, there gets a point where I can't afford that anymore. And that I'm not going to go spend $20 for a cover A, and then your cover B is $30, and then your cover C is like another $35. It's like, and so balancing costs, because we all have budgets, you know, and I'm at that stage where you lose me as a customer, and there's plenty of projects in the last 6 months that I just said no thank you to, and I'm not happy that I couldn't back them, but the cover A was $20, and that's just killing me. It's not a variant. So that's something that I think is a big thing for creators to understand, is that you can price me out very, very efficiently and quickly if your pricing is out of whack.
Well, that's what a lot of the creators don't. I don't think that they've taken an economics course, either macro or micro, so they don't understand the pricing chart scale. You know, the little graph.
And also, it must be very helpful, because even just to bring Johnny in a little bit, you know, obviously you're running a comic book shop, so you understand a P&L statement. You understand buying, you know, a pull list essentially, as well as picking up collections and selling backlog, and understanding, you know, the economics of comics, both, you know, with being on Kickstarter and being in a comic shop setting. And I think most people don't understand, you know, economics. When I'm selling books on eBay and I'm buying books at retail price and flipping them on eBay, I'm not buying at a 50% discount or even a 40% discount. It's the idea that, you know, I have a P&L statement every month on how much money I made and how much I lost and what I sold, what I didn't sell, what eBay took. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, because they don't understand that this is a business. It's not, it's a fun business. You're creating something, but at the end of the day, it's a business.
Well, and you got to look at it that way, because if you don't look at it as a business, it won't be a business. You know, you'll find yourself broke, in debt, and not able to move forward. And I think I have a lot of people that come in, you know, and, you know, they want to get comics and they want to get a really good, cheap price. And a lot of them are coming in to grab comics and they want to flip them. They want to flip them themselves. And, you know, and they're not realizing, if you want to flip them, you know, that's your garage sales. That's your, you know, you know, when you go buy out a house or something. But it's like, really, when you're going into a comic shop, you know, you're not really going there to find stuff to flip, because they're already trying to price them to sell.
You get lucky every once in a while. So
Granted,
I got lucky at a store near where I am, where the person took in a collection, and they probably bought the collection of probably 15 long boxes for $100. And in that was like all like the old Top Cow stuff, and like the Top Cow swimsuit edition of '93, and, you know, Aspen Appreciation books, and a Lady Death leather cover that was a 10,000, you know, edition.
Yeah, the cover was a sweet one.
Yeah. All the cool stuff that somebody loved, and the books were like immaculate, and all those books the guy just listed for $1 because he didn't want to go through it, and he was making a lot of money on the deal. And then, I was pulling out a whole these really cool books, and I haven't sold any of them because I want them for me. But like I was pulling out like old e-passes and other stuff. So every once in a while you get lucky, but I agree that it's definitely the garage sales. It's definitely buying somebody's collection off of them, at maybe 40% who wants to get out of it, or, somebody who just said, look, I just need this stuff out of my house. Can you take it off? And, I don't think people understand the basics of comic book.
The comic shop should know what they're selling you. They're comic shop, so they should already know what it's worth.
Yep.
And speaking about that, because I haven't seen this post in a while, but I'm actually curious with Johnny on this one, is that I'm in the camp, and maybe I'm in the minority, that, because we're speaking about what a comic shop should know, that a comic shop should be, they should know that when a book is hot, when a book is not hot. And so if you list a book at a certain price point, you should know what books are listed at what. And then if I go up to the counter and you start changing the price on me, that's offensive to me in a lot of ways. And I understand that books fluctuate sometimes daily, but as a comic shop and a well-run shop, you should know that if, a 601 Spider-Man is very, very fluctuating, it should not just be in a long box randomly priced at $100 if it's flipping up to $300 or $400. It should be probably on a wall behind your register if it's a flipped up book.
Right there. Yeah.
So
because that's how I try to do a lot of mine is I take those they call them key issues. It's your key issues for your titles. Those should be like I have mine behind the wall. I still have some mixed in with my boxes, on the floor. But to me, if I have something marked at $10 and it's going for $100, that's my fault. I'm not going to, if that price is on there, I'm not going to sell it for what it's going for. I should have already looked that book up.
Yeah.
Now, by the same token, I may have books that aren't priced, and I'm like, hey, let me look it up, because sometimes you do have books that are, like you said, fluctuating a lot. And sometimes that's when you put them on the wall, and that way you can keep track of them.
And so it bothers me. I haven't seen it in a long time in the comic world and in a comic shop, but I've seen it a few times with other customers, and it irks me indefinitely because I should not be doing your job for you. If I walk in on the customer. Now, I understand that sometimes there's wiggle room where maybe, if the book is $10 and then you say, oh man, I mispriced it, it's 15. But when you mark the book at $10 and then it's rude, you want to charge me $100, I brought it to the register. That's kind of when I want to leave your store to some degree. And I've heard horror stories about that. So I was just curious about that because that's something that's a big issue, and there's been massive debates in Facebook groups on this topic.
Yeah, I just figure, as a customer, if you marked it something, that's price is marked, buddy.
And then
Absolutely.
And then even going, and then coming back into this entire project, because we took a little bit of a tangent, which happens sometimes. You have some really cool stuff also going on with rewards, where you have a calendar, and I'm not going to show all of them. There's like 15 of them. I'm just not going to do it. Okay, I'm extremely lazy. It's a nice big calendar of all of these characters and several more from your projects. And so, what was that like? Because it is something very different. You don't just do one girl; you do a bunch of different ones, and it's a cool calendar in a lot of ways.
This one was Fernando's. We do a calendar every time. We've always done a calendar for every Kickstarter. Like right now, we're in November of 2021, and this is the Merry Machine Gun calendar. So Fernando's like, let me just make the calendar, all of it, before I give it to you for approval. And I'm like, that's a lot of work to let you just kind of do on your own, dude. I don't know if that's kind of what I really should. Okay, fine, go ahead, do it. And really, when he did it, he turned it all in, and it was all fantastic.
And what is that like to have somebody who is willing to do the work and then willing to have sort of something that's cool? Because obviously calendars are useful. People like calendars. People like art, and people want to look at things like this, and these things do well. And
We like to say that they're safe for work depending on where you work at.
that too. So, Johnny, is it safe in your store?
No. No, I have kids in my store. I got to cover all that stuff up.
I couldn't help. I couldn't help it. It was too easy to ask that question.
No.
There are. I mean, you're going to be selling the complete nude version in your store, right? Too. Like.
Oh, I'm going to be selling them, but what we're going to have to do is have them covered, and that way, and have them like on a top shelf that adolescents can't reach.
Yeah.
Behind
the shelf.
There's a reason why I don't buy Zenoscope Z-rated covers, because they are hard to sell on eBay. eBay sort of categorizes them, and sometimes eBay will let you get away with it if they're in the adult section, or they're covered, or they're censored, but sometimes they get just taken down automatically on eBay.
Yeah, eBay got real picky about like people selling anything that had to do with pornography or nudity in it, because I used to collect Zippos, and there's a lot of the Vargas Zippos got some nudity on it, from the pinup girls, the topless things and stuff like that, and you can't get them on eBay anymore unless people like black it all out.
It's something that I'm very well aware of, and I'm looking for the easiest selling point for myself. And I know Kickstarter is very difficult with nudity as well, and they're very strict. And
that's why that stuff covered up.
That's how you need the pasties. That's all I'm going to say. And then, obviously, I just want to go through the stretch goals that you're throwing out there. There's this one right here, which is sort of, I think, is it a trading card or is it a mini print?
It's a trading card. We got.
So we have that one. We have this one, which is suggestive enough. And then we have this one, and I'm not too sure if you're going to hollow foil this thing out, but it's going to look sick if you do.
Yeah, we've been talking to different card printing companies about how much it would cost to get hollow foils done, because I wanted that Magic the Gathering look to it. Foil card.
Yeah, no, definitely the hollow foil on this would look sick, and it would definitely look sick right after you do a metal card of this. Just saying, you do a metal card of this, you're gonna be golden.
What about a metal print of that? Do you want a metal print? Is that what you want?
I don't want a metal print. I want a metal card. So it's like a metal trading card.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Because a metal print of it is too big. It's too big for me. A metal trading card goes with my other metal cards from other companies, and it's small and it's compact. That's why I want a little small thing of it, not a metal print. A metal print's too big.
No, I was talking about like a print the size of a comic. That way you can make your cover that print.
See. I mean, that'd be cool too. That would be cool too. But even still, like a metal card would be perfect because I already have a metal card collection. So it fits in perfectly with everything.
Gotcha.
And it'll like really shine. And if the metal's done right, that blue will just pop off of it, which is why it's going to be so metal.
Second person to tell me to get metal cards in a week.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because I'm doing metal cards soon, and it's going to be a reward on my end, and I have a pretty cool idea for my metal card, and my metal cards are limited to 100.
Did you get your book approved finally?
I didn't get it approved, but I'm not pursuing it right now. I'm launching in January, and I'm going to be sort of taking it a little bit easier because December is going to be just a rough month. Yeah. Because if I don't have money, and I think I'm average, and money's tight in December for me, I would imagine it's tight for everybody else.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be nice and skimpy this year, especially with gas being like what $6 a gallon in California.
You people are screwed.
It
This
sucks.
is why you need the Phillip app. The Phillip app. It's a great app. You save 25 cents per gallon on gas. Goes a long way.
Yeah, 25 cents would be great. We use the grocery store here has this like the rewards club thing, and like certain things if you buy, it'll be like this, you buy this and you get 2 cents off per gallon, and you buy this and you get 2 cents off per gallon, and it all adds up. It compounds upon itself. So if you shop right, you'd be buying gas for like 56 cents a gallon back in the day when gas was still like 2.50.
It's crazy.
You could buy it for like 57 cents a gallon and be like, man, I feel like I'm a teenager again.
I have not gassed up a car in forever because I don't have a car in forever. So there you go. So that's what I have. But I do want to back out of Kickstarter, and I actually am super curious. And this is the part where ESK can be quiet for a few minutes, and hopefully he won't get upset. But you're having issues shipping to Australia and New Zealand. And
everyone is, because the USPS has stopped shipping to New Zealand and Australia.
And I would even go further that I would imagine that you just know that off the top of your head as far as them having issues, but I know other countries are having problems too. And obviously I think the logical conclusion, and I'm going to go take an assumption here, is, well, Australia is a COVID nightmare, to say the least. And that's not political. So what is that like, knowing that you already are going to have a hard time shipping? You can't ship to those countries, on top of the fact that it's an indicator that there is a shipping problem occurring, both in the U.S. and internationally. So domestically and internationally, and even dealing with that on a Kickstarter front, because I'm an eBay seller and all I do is I ship in the continental U.S. I do not ship anywhere else because anything else is a headache for me.
Oh yeah. Shipping internationally is definitely a headache. It's a big pain in the ass. I'm not gonna lie. You kind of just have to, because you have to set flat rates for your shipping on Kickstarter. You kind of just have to guesstimate, and it doesn't really work all the time. So sometimes I take a hit on shipping, sometimes I don't. Sometimes we charge $25 for shipping outside of the country, and people are like, "Oh my God, $25!" And it's like, that's how much it costs. I'm sorry.
It costs like $21 to get a book from Canada from me.
Yeah,
so somebody ship me a book from Canada is like $21, and I mean, I'm a fan of Corey Hardyman and Sister Mercy.
Yeah, Sister Mercy. I got that right behind my machine gun.
And so I really like that book, and I thoroughly enjoy it, but I couldn't back his last Kickstarter because the shipping was going to kill me. I mean, the shipping was just almost as much as the pledge.
I didn't back the last Kickstarter because it was just a collection of all the books that I already have, and
I wanted the pinup sketchbook. That's what I really wanted, but it's just too pricey, the shipping. For me to pledge $10 and then spend double on the
shipping,
it makes no economic sense for me.
That's like what a lot of people in Canada have stopped backing. Closing the store, Johnny.
Sorry.
A lot of people have stopped backing Lady Death books on Kickstarter because if they live in Canada, because it ends up costing them $60-$70 just to get the standard book. And they're like, why should I spend $60-$70 when I could wait 2-3 months and buy it in shops for $6?
Yeah, it's very, very complicated.
I mean, you don't get all the internet Kickstarter goodies. You don't get the trading cards and the stuff like that when you buy it at the shop. But I mean, I'd be more apt to go to the shop. I mean, I've even stopped backing Lady Death Kickstarters just because I look at things now as like, okay, that game is $60. do I really want that game? Because that's like a page of comic book art.
For me, it's also that way where even with backing projects, it's like, I really like this project, but this is too pricey at this point. Do I want this book? Is it going to go up in value? Am I going to enjoy the story? Why am I backing this? And then there's also other just economic requirements that I have to meet. And I have to treat it first thing. The idea is that, is this a business expense or is it a personal expense? Is it a gift to myself? And then this is why I back, on average, only one project a month, and it becomes a game. And I'm tempted to create an entire show. Tell me your project.
Yeah,
you got 90 seconds. This is the game, guys. And I'll write a whole set of rules, and I guarantee you I can get like 40 people looking at me in an entire Thursday. And I will legitimately bring people in for 2 minutes, and you have 2 minutes to pitch me, to buy your book. And then I will make my decision, and then I will pledge and back your project that day. Because I almost need to do that now, which is crazy.
So just the elevator pitch.
Yep.
You got 2 minutes, and you know what it is? You got to figure it out quickly to sell me your book. And I think it makes sense because I think there's a bunch of people like me, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the outlier here.
You're basically doing comic Shark Tank.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban's coming on tomorrow. Yes. And then we're gonna do a special episode at a Mavericks game. So there we go. Because he owns the Mavericks.
Yeah, he owns the Mavericks. Yep.
Yep.
And then we're gonna go yell, and then we're both gonna get fines and donate it to charity because that's what he does.
There you go.
I haven't watched Shark Tank in a while. The last time I watched Shark Tank, there was like people selling like soap made of animal fat or something. I don't know what it was.
Saw that. That's crazy.
All I know is that all of the people on Shark Tank except Mark Cuban and Lori have like sold their souls and have like influencer deals, and legitimately you could pay like Kevin O'Leary $1,500 to say your business is great, which is crazy because that means that your business really isn't great. It's just that you could legitimately buy influence from all these people, except you can't buy influence from Mark Cuban because he's actually worth like $4 billion.
Yeah, he doesn't care anymore. He doesn't need your paltry sum of $15,000. If you want me to tell you your business is great, it's going to cost you at least $10 million, brother. Then your business would have to be great if you had $10 million.
I mean, if I was selling 10 million, I would not be here. I'd be on a beach in Hawaii, and preferably on one of the active volcano islands. I'm just saying that I don't want to pay for volcano insurance. But I digress right there. So obviously, and I am curious about this because this is very interesting to me, and I'm curious how you two feel about it, is that how do you both feel about where COVID is going with comics and even with Kickstarter and even in the comic industry? Because obviously, Max, you're heavily involved in Kickstarter. John, you're not getting involved very much so, but you also run a comic shop. And where do you foresee everything going? Because this is the debate, and obviously, this is like a 5-hour discussion point plus.
Yeah, I was going to say this one's a big one.
So we're doing a part 2 to this interview. That's what I heard right there.
Me and you are going to have a very interesting discussion at some point about this side of things, because I think it's very important that people know about this and comic book investing and also picking up comics as a hobby and comic flipping. But I want the short answer because I'm sure I'm going to have you back at some point, Johnny, to go deeper into this.
Max, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first because mine will be real quick. With COVID, you've actually gotten a lot more of people buying collectibles and just based on speculation, which is driving up the price of those collectibles currently. So I see a collectible bubble bursting eventually. I don't know how long it'll take, but it's going to happen.
I've been saying that for about 4 years, and the way I sort of knew it's coming is that when all of these top people at DC and Marvel and a bunch of other people started charging really like 20, 30 bucks for signatures, you know, I sort of figured out real quick that this thing is going to happen. And because they're charging to try, in my opinion, for two reasons. A, they're not making enough with their comic book writing. And B, they're also understanding that all this stuff gets expensive and winds up on eBay, and they want to try to limit the market. But in reality, it has had the opposite effect because the customer pays for the signature plus the value that it brings. And it's just a tax. It's kind of like Apple doesn't pay taxes. The company Apple doesn't pay taxes. The taxes are built into when you buy your iPhone. And that's how.
I see it kind of differently because I think it depends on the individual, honestly, because let's take William Shatner. I mean, for instance, he's a multi-millionaire, you know, not from even his acting career, but, you know, from Priceline. But but every time he goes to a convention, he charges a ridiculous amount for his signature. And it's not that he needs it, and it has nothing to do with the market. It's the point that a lot of these guys feel that this is who I am, and you're taking a piece of me, and I'm going to charge you for it. And then when they all go to these cons, they're looking over their shoulder and they see this other star, and he's getting it, and this person's getting it. Well, I'm just as good a star as they are, so I should get it as well. And I think a lot of it is just, you know, their own self-value. They want to show what they have.
It gets complicated too, because the way all of this stuff works, and I'm sure you know this, but for those who don't, all of these people are what are known as guarantees. So when you go to a con essentially puts money in an escrow account for more or less. So somebody like William Shatner might have a $50,000 guaranteed position and bubble.
Well, a lot of these guys actually, because I work with some of the conventions, they get paid a certain amount no matter what. We're going to pay for your rooms. We're going to pay for all your meals. And there's certain, you know, I can tell you there's certain ones that I've been in contact with that they want $25,000 for 2 days. And you're paying for everything else. Well, and then they make their own.
Norman Reedus for $30,000 just for a
right.
Day.
And then they get the money for their signatures. That's like the icing on the cake. So they're getting paid 25, 30, 40 grand to walk through the door. But in their own defense, we're talking some of these actors, if they could do a bit part on an ABC show, they could easily pick up $40,000 or $50,000. So when they look at their own acting career, they have to look at it also from a business sense. Is it smarter for me to go do this TV show over here? Is it smarter for me to be interviewed? I'm giving up an entire weekend. I got to make sure I make the equivalent amount of money. And that's what you really kind of look into, because you got to look at it from their perspective of what their value is.
And then also the entire thing is that out of that is also them doing 3 or 4 Q&As at the con or being on panels.
Right.
And that's also built into it. But I know that a bunch of people have guarantees as well. And that's another way that cons do it as well. And it's just super tricky. And also there's minimum guarantees, there's maximum guarantees. And then also a lot of these people, what it works is that their signatures count against their guarantee. So if they sell 70,000, they're pulling in 70,000. They're not just pulling in the 50. It's just that the 50 is the floor. So there's a lot of different ways that some of this out. But then you have people. It all
depends on the star, and it depends on the convention, depends on the managementship. I mean, there's so many different ways.
But then you have people like Jason David Frank, who has shown up during the middle of COVID when things were better all over to all these comic shops for free. And that he just said, look, all these comic shops are getting fucked over, and that let me try to help bring business. And he just flew out on his own dollar to a bunch of shops and did a bunch of signings. And so you have other people who do that as well. And then obviously I deal with a bunch of voice actors. I'm like, yeah, I'll be on the show for free, because why wouldn't I be? Because, you know, I want my name out there and you do a semi-decent interview. I like to think. So it's very interesting where, you know, top stars also, you know, depending if they can do an interview from their house, they don't really care, you know. So it's very interesting because I've had Christopher Daniels on, who's the head in relations of AEW on my show a while back. So it's kind of crazy. And then you have like somebody like Paul Levitz has been on my show. Obviously old school DC. So not to name drop, but
we've
again,
I used to do a radio station, internet radio station for many years, and everyone's like, "How do you get these interviews?" And I'm like, "You just ask. If they've got something to sell, they'll come on."
the worst thing that somebody can say is no.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only had one person who has snapped at me, and I was like, "Okay, you're having a bad day." Like clearly, I just asked for an interview, and then also when people say, "Am I paid?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't pay anybody," and then I just move on. Yeah. So I've only had one bad experience, and beyond that, if somebody says no, I'm like, "Cool, I'll hit you up in a year." And then sometimes you get somebody up in a year, and then they're like, "Oh snap, you're actually legit, and you're not some kid who's been not doing this for like 3 minutes." They're like, "Oh." So it's super interesting in that regard. But obviously we've been talking for almost an hour and a half, and I don't want to keep either one of you from either running your comic shop or filling up your tank of gas or writing the next issue of Human Hunters or Mary Machine Gun or Neo Tokyo. So where can people find both of you? Obviously for Johnny, what's your comic shop? Where can people buy comics from you? Where can people find you on Twitter, Instagram, obviously the Kickstarter, any other links, Atrocity Press and all that press, and where can they go bother you, Max, as well?
Johnny, you can go first.
You can get me at I got a Facebook page for Brute Squad Entertainment, for the comic shop. For me, me and Max have our emails for Atrocity Press. It's johnny.reed at Atrocity Press.
Yep.
So, shoot me a line on that. I'm on Facebook, Johnny Reed. You can find me there too.
All right. Yeah. You want to find anything that Atrocity Press is doing, check out atrocitypress.com. That's atrocitypress.com. You can buy all of our back issues there. You can buy the newest stuff that we have released, like Mary Machine Gun issue 2 and Neo Tokyo issue number 1. You can check us out on Instagram as @Atrocity Press or @Mary Machine Gun. On Twitter, it's @Mary Machine Gun. And on Facebook, it is /Mary Machine Gun. Or /Atrocity Press.
And I've been saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie comics. And what that means is that you have to back Kickstarters. Whether you're backing a $5 pledge, a $10 pledge, a digital pledge, or a physical pledge, every little bit helps, and every little bit helps to get the book funded, because indie comic creators are not Marvel, they're not DC. They are in a lot of ways self-funding or funding from the previous issue, and every dollar makes that book happen. So seriously, you need to go back Kickstarters to get projects done, but even further off of that, you actually need to share that you backed a Kickstarter. So when you back a Kickstarter, you get a number, and Kickstarter makes it easy for you to share it onto Facebook or Twitter, and it's a click of a button, and you need to share it because it lets other people know that you've shared it outward, and then other people will see it as well. And Facebook's and Twitter's algorithms are not the same as they used to be, and there are projects that don't come across my desk, and I'm like, you funded this project? Why didn't I see it? So it goes a long way, but then even going further into that, you also need to follow people on Twitter. You need to follow people on Facebook, Instagram, check out their websites, sign up to their email lists if they have them, because all that stuff matters as well. And you actually need to interact with them on those platforms, because that goes a long way too. And if you are near, Johnny's shop, you should go in and actually buy comics, because you should support small business as well. And comic shops are small businesses. And even if you're buying only a $4 book, or you're buying $400 worth of books, it all goes and supports small business. So please go do that. And I'm sure that if you're looking for a particular book and you email Johnny, I'm sure that if he has it, you guys can work something out to get you that book, because books come into comic shops in weird places and weird times. And if you're like me, who hunts down books, and you're a completist and you're looking for certain books, well, there you go. that's very important. So I'm sure that Johnny, can help you find a book if need be.
Brute Squad will have its own website eventually, and it'll the stock on the website will be accurate to the stock in the store. Yep. Which means if you look at it on the website and you find a book on the website and it says that there's 3, then there are 3 at the store.
So that's good to know, and that's coming down the line. And I'm sure that in the meanwhile, though, if you say, hey, look, I'm looking for these books, if they come into your shop, you can just give me a heads up, you could pretty much ship anywhere in the United States for the most part, I would imagine, and that could all be worked out. So obviously it's just another resource if you're a completist or you're just looking for rare books like I am all the time. Also, I am an indie content creator, so I appreciate everybody shares this stuff out. I am still figuring out how to use the share screen on StreamYard. It is not something I am very good at. I have gotten comments on that. I do not need help on that. I am just not good at it. It is not my forte. It makes me very nervous. Having said that, though, all jokes aside, I have Buy Me a Coffee. So I do sell some ad space on there. I sell guest spots. Also, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee goes right back into this show. I believe that I am getting my renewal of Mix and Printing as a sponsor. So we are working that out, and that is coming. So I'm very excited for that. And I just want everybody to go share, this interview out as well as back Human Hunters, because I am very, very excited for this book. And when I get my paycheck, I am going to be backing at least the $15 tier. So I'm very excited for that. I just don't know what cover I'm going to be buying.
All of them are $15 tier, I believe, this time. I think all of them, except for the holofoil. The holofoil one.
Not safe for work.
Well, of course, that's always more expensive.
and so I don't know which one I'm buying yet. I don't know, and I'm still figuring it out. So having said that, obviously that's very important. And yes, so I'm going to give both of you the final word. I don't know if you both want a final word, or you want to delay to somebody the final word, or if you'd like to duel each other to the final word. It's all up to you. Position. We encourage certain things on this show, and this is why I'm demonetized on Facebook and YouTube.
If you like heist books and you like monster movies and you like sexy women and sexy dudes, let's face it, these dudes are, 30% of our audience is women. I get the Google Analytics, so unless Google's lying to me, 30% of our audience is women. So we're selling plenty of these the beefcake / cheesecake book. So we're doing plenty. We're doing okay with it. Buy the book. Just take a chance on it. Take a read. It's how many pages is this one? 30, 32?
30, yeah, so 30 plus.
Yeah, 30 plus pages. It's plenty of story and
great art.
Fantastic art, great story, and it gets you into a brand new universe. And it's not a cinematic universe, and it's not like a comic book universe, but it's the beginning of a universe that we're creating, because it's a universe that hasn't existed yet, or a world creation, whatever you want to call it.
Now, the only thing I want to say is I want to thank everybody that's already backed it up to this moment. We really appreciate everybody that's helping us out with that. Please go ahead and go out there and, if you don't have an issue, get it. Like we've talked about, this isn't like just putting one comic out there. We're planning on this comic going for a long time. We have plenty of stories that we're going to be writing. So this is where you want to get on that ground floor. You want to know what's going on. You want to get those origin stories. And Andrew, thank you.
You don't want to be that guy that's like, man, this is book 5 and I got to get the catch-up tier, and that's $50.
Yeah. You don't want to also be the guy who then, when this thing takes off and is killing it on eBay, and you bought your book for $15, now it's going for $150. Say, shit, I could have had that book for $50.
Right. And Andrew, the one thing I just wanted to end with, thank you so much for having us on the show. We really enjoy, you taking the time and inviting us on, and we really appreciate just being able to visit with you. It's just awesome.
Yeah. No. Thank you both for showing up, because I'm just lucky that I asked people and I was like, hey, let me see who's available. And, sometimes it works out, and sometimes I get terrified because not half, but I would say like 5% of the people don't show up, and it's always terrifying. So when people show up, that's me winning the war. So on that note, and people in the comments section, the person knows who they are. They got to stop doing what they're doing. I'm just gonna say that publicly. I'm not in a blue shirt today, and there's a good reason why. And this will now become a act of defiance with every interview.
Nice.
So I
awesome.
completely embracing the nice words of Gandhi. And January 1st, and I mean January 1st at 12:01 is when my project is launching. So it's going to be very exciting what's going on. And I may or may not be making a Facebook Live legitimately at 12:01. So that's when my project's coming, guys, if it gets approved.
You get all liquored up. You get all liquored up and start babbling at 12:01. I'll be there.
Yeah, call us. We'll help you out.
I'm you have to get through Thanksgiving, and then it's Kickstarter land. That's the whole thing. So I got, I think, 3 more interviews to do, and I'm going to be super stoked. And then I have Thanksgiving, and so obviously that's where I'm at. But I'm going to be wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving on next Tuesday. And so
Excellent.
I don't know if somebody was going to say something.
Oh, no.
Oh, perfect. This is typically me, and I believe that is a wrap.
Yeah, peace.